Shalom. All praises, blessings, glories, and honors to Yahweh, the King of terrors, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Racha, Wadash, and noble honors to my elder apostles and bishop elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth, as well of men of like mind. Shalom wa chasad, which means peace and mercy to the elect of the nation of Israel, who may use so for Negroes, Latinos, Native American Indians, and Israelite foreigners of the seed line of our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who are scattered here in America, which is Babylon the Great, and abroad. To you I say Shalom, beginning with the 144,000 prophets, and Yahweh, the King of terrors, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, willing. This lesson is edifying and informative. My name is Kwanawath, and this is the book of Revelation, chapter 17, verse 16. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. The inspiration for this lesson came from this clip that I'm about to share with you, brothers and sisters, that was uploaded by Alex Jones recently on X. And summary of what I'm about to share through the Spirit per Alex Jones is historic. Trump just announced the U.S. is leaving NATO, which is a part of biblical prophecy. Right? Regarding the book of Daniel, the second chapter, where it states at the latter end of the chapter that the feet of it, that is of the statue that was seen in the vision, which represented the various kingdoms that would rule, the latter end of it, the feet of it, that was mixed with iron and miry clay, would, according to biblical prophecy, break, crumble. And the feet of it represents NATO and the EU, with America being an extension of that empire. As the beast is the pagan Roman Empire, which came back in the form of NATO and the EU, with America being an extension of that empire, right? Whose deadly wound was healed, right? And so again, it states that Trump just announced the U.S. is leaving NATO because the European nations have refused to give support to the Iran war. In this report, Alex Jones reveals the real reason Trump has announced that the U.S. is exiting North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Russia has announced plans in the coming weeks to begin strikes against NATO members, or NATO member nations, supplying high-tech weapons to Ukraine that are causing mass devastation inside Russia. If Russia strikes the UK, France, Poland, or Germany, and the US is still a member of NATO, under our defense agreement, the US will be treaty bound to officially go to war with Russia. And someone made an interesting point in the comments. This individual by the name of Jose Vera commented he's leaving NATO to avoid any conflict of interest when Israel attacks Turkey. And Turkey is a member of NATO. But we understand that according to biblical prophecy, Russia will become a guard unto Meshach and Tubal, which is modern day Turkey. Okay? So the Lord will create conflict and division within the NATO and the EU. Now let's listen.
Show5.com. Here's President Trump's full statement.
I think that NATO made a terrible mistake when they wouldn't send a small amount of military armament.
Well, I suppose the volume got clipped because it's an X, but if you could perhaps listen to, or rather read the subtitle, then that's okay.
Just even acknowledge what we were doing for the world, taking on. Wars always risk. Strange things happen in war, very bad, but I didn't consider it. I know how great we're the greatest military by far. Anywhere there was nobody close. I didn't think there was a big risk, but there's always surprises with war. They can be very bad surprises. I mean, wars are lost. It should be won. Many wars are lost. You think a country is going to wipe somebody out, and they end up getting wiped out themselves. So it's always risky. But I think a tremendous mistake was when NATO just wasn't there. It just wasn't there. It's going to make a lot of money for the United States because we spend hundreds of billions of dollars a year on NATO. Hundreds of protecting them. And we would have always been there for them, but now, based on their actions, I guess we don't have to be, do we?
Mr. President.
That sounds like a breaking story, yes, sir.
We've only got
So
a week left in
clearly,
for sale. We're ultramethylene blue.
DJT has set his heart on leaving the NATO, per this short clip, which again, forgive me, I didn't know that it was not going to play the audio, but at least we had the subtitles to read. And I'll leave the link to this post in the description box of the lesson, Lord is willing. The point is that as we approach the end, we're going to continue to see divisions within ESA's North Atlantic Treaty Organization and European Union, right? There will be division between the whore and her European allies, according to biblical prophecy, right? So this is, again, the book of Revelation, chapter 17. And this is just a brief report, nothing long. Verse 16. It says, and the 10 horns, which the 10 horns represents the EU, which thou sawest upon the beast, which again, the beast is the pagan Roman Empire, which came back in the form of NATO and the EU, with America being an extension of that empire. That is the beast. These shall hate the whore. So NATO and the EU, which comprises America and its allies, will eventually part ways due to obvious reasons, even as I speak. And it will become increasingly apparent, more obvious, that there is a rift, there is a division, there is a hatred between America's European allies and America, Babylon the Great. And this, again, is all according to biblical prophecy, as we are reading here, right? As it states, again, these shall hate the whore. So they're going to hate this place. And shall make her desolate. How are they going to do that? They're going to shoot thermonuclear missiles into this land to destroy it, according to biblical prophecy. You can refer to the book of Revelation 18, Revelation 9, Revelation 11 and 14, Joel, the 3rd chapter, among many others, Baruch, the 3rd chapter, among many, many others, Isaiah 13, that prophesies the utter and complete destruction of America, Babylon the Great, according to biblical prophecy, right? Whether you believe it or not, whether you like it or not, it is written within and throughout the Holy Scriptures. It is prophesied, okay? So reading on, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. And that's exactly what they're gonna do through those nuclear warheads, right? Now they're gonna be shooting through those nuclear missiles, those ICBMs, which, by the way, pursuant to the book of Jeremiah, chapter 50, verse 25, are the weapons of the Lord's indignation. Because the Lord has indignation, which means righteous anger, against the wicked, who, according to the book of Malachi, chapter 1, verse 4, is Esau, Edom, identified as the so-called Caucasian race today, beginning with their wealthy, elite banking families, including the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Gettys, the DuPonts, the Lees, McDonald's, and so on and so forth. All right, they are the wicked. In closing, this is the book of Obadiah, verse 7. It says, all the men of that confederacy. A confederacy is an agreement. Con means with. Confederacy means agreement or treaty, right? So all the men of America's confederacy, which includes her European allies within NATO and the EU, have brought thee even to the border. What border is that referring to? When we read the book of Joel, the 3rd chapter, we find out that that border is in the region of the valley of Jehoshaphat, which in the Hebrew is Yahweh Shaphat, which means Yahweh's judgment, located in the so-called Middle East, Western Asia, in the Arabian Peninsula, right? The men that were at peace with thee, which are the allies, have deceived thee, because eventually they're going to betray her and show their hatred towards America, Babylon the Great, according to biblical prophecy, and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread, and they have eaten the bread of the whore through trade, through traffic, especially through sea, besides air and land, right? They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him, and the root of understanding is the fear of the Lord. So this man does not fear the Lord because he is most proud. He is full of hubris. He believes himself to be like the Most High, God, which the Most High has given him the power of a God on the earth, but that power is waning, is diminishing, until eventually the Lord takes it away completely and destroy his kingdom, according to biblical prophecy, right? So with that, the Lord's willing, conclude this lesson. Lord's willing, has been edifying and informative. Again, I'll leave the link to the clip in the description box of the lesson, Lord's willing, all right? So I'll catch you brothers and you sisters in the next. Shalom.